Let's speak now to Mike Neville, ex-Met Police Detective, Chief Inspector and Army veteran. Mike, white poppy sales. With students who want to show solidarity with Gaza, these are being sold by the Peace Pledge Union. I'm afraid I've only had about 2 minutes within which to try and figure out what they spend their money on and if they're decent enough folk. They've been around a good 90 years, I think. But the point is this, you know, when it comes to the poppy appeal, it's not just about remembering what happened in 2 world wars, the millions of lives sacrificed to protect the nation state, to protect freedom, to rid the continent of tyranny, lives laid down to make sure we could all live freely and defend our values. But also, the Royal British Legion has a function. Its money is used to make sure that veterans are looked after at the moment. Veterans are sort of the MOD semi-wash their hands of veterans. And so 3 entities look after veterans, one being the NHS, one being the charities sector, and the other being local authorities. And the Royal British Legion make an important contribution to making sure that veterans can go on after serving their country and have happy, healthy lives with their families. So actually, I would suggest that sort of sabotaging this with your white peace poppies is really quite cynical.
Yes, it's terrible. The left can leave nothing alone. Everything has got to be influenced by their wicked hands and wicked fingers delved into it. They can't just think just one day of the year. You know, we have Remembrance Sunday. I'm the 5th generation soldier, and my great-grandfather was on the Somme. So I know personally why we have red poppies, because that was the lovely flower that amongst all the gas and barbed wire and machine guns and trenches, this is what the soldiers saw. And so it's one symbol that let's just leave it alone. Let's just have this. But the British Legion, of course, that 1/3 of their money comes from poppy sales. But of course, they've got their own troubles. You know, they're deciding to attach trans flags to the poppy, and they're employing a diversity officer on 70 grand a year, which is probably £70,000 worth, 70,000 times poppies sold. So all of the establishment is involved in interfering with something where the vast majority of people, most people like me, will have grandfathers and great-grandfathers who served in the First War, the Second War. I served in Northern Ireland. My brother served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so everybody, things are close to home. You know, it used to be war used to be a long time ago, Second World War. Now people have lost brothers and sons in Iraq and Afghanistan. So it's still relevant today. And let's just keep the red poppy and save your chants about Gaza and all your protests for another day, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think in many respects, when it comes to 11/11/11, when it comes to things like the poppy appeal, these things should be protected. They should be safeguarded against people opportunising them or sabotaging them for their own particular narrative, because I think nothing has been more important in our history, in the history of the world and the history of the West, than those 2 world wars and what they should stand to represent today. And I think that the problem is this constant erosion of the meaning of those, with all of these other neo-campaigns that we now have forced upon us all the time, is giving those people who are enemies to the West a foothold. It's giving them a foothold, not necessarily saying the PPU or whatever it is selling these poppies are directly funding these organisations, but eroding the memory and allowing this infiltration into what should be a critical keystone in our national identity and history is what gives the enemies of the West a foothold that then allows them to groom people and to perpetrate attacks. I mean, it's not just disrespectful. I think on some level this is quite dangerous.
It is, because what it does, it causes division. And this is the aim of the left all the time. And their enemies, you know, China, Iran, North Korea, what they would like to see is us all divided. And one thing like the poppy, the red poppy does, it unites us. It brings us all together, whether you're black, white, Asian, gay, straight or whatever. Everybody is brought together. But what they do, they add a trans flag or they make it white, And what they do all the time, in every area of life they do it, they try to divide us. So we're all competing for different, for the same thing. So we're all fighting amongst each other. And China and Russia and the likes, they must look at us and laugh, because there's no reason really to fight us. They might as well let us destroy ourselves. And the people who divide us constantly, that is their aim. And as I say, it might be a simple little piece of paper, but it's something that unites the country for 1 hour on one day of the year, and I think let's leave that alone.
I think it's fair to say that most people will have had grandparents and great-grandparents who fought in those wars. I mean, I think everybody was involved in them in some way, shape or form. Ironically, my grandfather served the RAF in Palestine during the Second World War. Let's talk about another big story today, which is about online grooming. And this is a report from the NSPCC, which says that the number of offences every year has exceeded 7,000 for the first time. That's according to new data compiled by the charity, revealing 7,062 offences for sexual communication with a child were recorded by police last year. That is an 89% increase since 2018 in just 6 years. I mean, these are the ones we know of. These are the things being reported to the police and investigated by the police. Lord knows what the true figure is. Snapchat.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, Snapchat is now 48%, WhatsApp 12%, Facebook 10%, Instagram 6%. But what is clear is these online digital platforms are being ruthlessly used to sexually exploit young kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my expertise in the police was I was in digital forensics, anything involving video, CCTV, and images. And of course, computers these days, the vast majority, half of crime is fraud, you know, because it's so easy these days. And then when we see online grooming, the trouble is that the whole police organisation in every country is set up that if crimes occur in London, they're committed in London. If crimes occur in Tokyo, they're happening in Tokyo and in New York. The thing is now with the internet and computers, you can simply sit in Buenos Aires and groom a child in Johannesburg. And as you said, with this 7,000 figure, that's the tip of the iceberg. It's probably 7 million attempts, and these they're international, these websites. And the thing is with Snapchat, of course, it deletes the images straight away, so it's almost like a perfect place. If you're a wicked paedophile groomer, you can pretend to be somebody else. And I think the real what the world has not got a grip of is the fact that the internet is the World Wide Web, and there is no worldwide police force to deal with it.
Yeah, Tim, I want to bring you into this so we can talk about the political element of this. People always think, oh, wow, she's a righty. She's going to be a big old liberal, big old libertarian. Not when it comes to this stuff, I'm not. My view, a lot of people disagree with me on this, but my view is very simple. When it comes to the safeguarding of children, there's no excuse. I'm afraid adult liberties and adult free speech has to come secondary to the safeguarding of children. And particularly when it comes to Snapchat, right? So this isn't a platform that adults use. I don't know a single adult on Snapchat unless they're probably trying to groom a kid, quite frankly. It's got the disappearing message. You send a picture and then you can't save it to your phone and it disappears. It's all too perfect for a groomer, which is why it's riddled with paedophiles and would-be paedophiles. Now, yes, parents should say to their kids, do not download that app. I mean, I'm not saying take agency away from parents, but it's got to a stage when you look at this, when you look at how many incidents are taking place and 48% that we know of being perpetrated on Snapchat, I would ban it.
No.
I would just ban it. You wouldn't sit around and go, oh, look, there's junkies' needles in the children's playground, but junkies should be allowed to be junkies. No, you wouldn't do that. So why on earth should this app exist when it doesn't particularly contribute to society in any meaningful way that's going to be missed and devastate or impinge upon freedom of expression? It should just be banned.
And TikTok should be banned in this country as well. TikTok, what is a Chinese-owned internet company, they expose our children to stuff that they do not allow their children in China to be exposed to. They are doing exactly as Mike has just described. They're trying to divide us internally. But how many years have we been talking about a ban on TikTok in our countries? Nothing's done because these organisations, these tech giants, spends a huge amounts of money lobbying politicians and making sure that these ideas never get off the ground. So I'm with you. But I'm very pessimistic about anything being done.
Well, they have the whip hand over politicians, don't they? Because politicians think, well, if I upset TikTok, then no one's going to vote for me if they look at TikTok, and you know, the algorithms work against me. Yeah. And then people sort of say, oh, well, you can't do it. There's no way of doing it. Oh, well, if you... Because my other big campaign is against user-generated porn content. I think it's utterly ridiculous. You have these mass industrial websites where anybody can post a video and anyone can look at it. There needs to be regulation of that sector, which to me, adults, if they want to be actors and actresses and get paid and produce videos, great, and then it goes in a licensed shop or a licensed platform where you pay money and prove your age to view it. And every time I make this point and say, look, we just need to pull the plug on the porn hubs of this world, which they do, right? If you go to a UAE, you know, the UAE or Saudi Arabia or Pakistan,
it's not impossible to do. It's not impossible to do.
But people tell me, oh, well, if you do that, it's all going to come out on the dark web anyway. Well, I'm sure there is a lot of stuff on the dark web. Most of us don't know how to use it. Mike, do you think that it is possible when it comes to these platforms to just say, look, 3 strikes and you're out, you haven't cleaned up your act, the plug is being pulled?
If we can do that, yes. As you say, we're not impinging on freedom of speech because people can post things otherwise. But I really do think we live in a difficult world where, you know, Britain can have as much legislation as it wants. It's a bit like legal things. When things come out in court, we can ban people from talking about it. And in the country, by the side of you, they can just publish it and do what they want, and people will access it. I think the biggest thing for me is that parents, and I've got 2 younger children, 2 older ones, that the younger children, they really, really need to have this as part of the school curriculum, that it is so dangerous out there. You know, we teach kids to swim, we teach kids to cross the road. We need to teach them there's some very, very, very dangerous people on the end of that phone or the end of that iPad or laptop. That's what we really need to educate kids, that there's not just... When I was at stranger danger, when I was a kid, meant some dirty old man in a Mac, you know, approaching the street. Now the dirty old man in the Mac is at the back of the iPad pretending to be a 12-year-old girl or something. And we just need to sort that out. Banning things, I think, it is very, very difficult in this world with the internet as it is. It's such a wild west of unregulated things, and you need the whole world to agree. If we can ban it, yes, but let's please make sure that it's a vital part of the school curriculum as much as swimming and stranger danger and things like that.
Mike, thank you ever so much. That's Mike Neville, ex-Met Police Detective, Chief Inspector and indeed Army veteran.